Good afternoon. What is up, Razorback Nation? We are back with your Sunday afternoon episode of Razor Recap here at Hawgs on the Hill. And we are brought to you by our lovely friends over at Razor Pigs. Looking good, never felt so fun. Razor Pigs is the Arkansas-born brand, bringing some serious style to the golf course, tailgate, and everywhere in between. From high-quality polos to head-turn hats, they've got what you need to rep the natural state with pride. And founded right here at home and now run by Razorback loving family, Razor Pigs is where comfort meets cool. So go hog wild and shop Razor Pigs today at razorpigs.us. And our friends over at Scarlet Letter, Arkansas's very own handcrafted spiked seltzer. You can check them out today. And if you are in Northwest Arkansas, check out the Core Brewery Tap Room in downtown Springdale, where you can get Scarlet Letter in all of its various flavors. And we've got a fun, exciting show for you guys tonight. We're going to do a little bit of recap here, cover some things, get Trae's opinions on things since we missed him on Wednesday. And then, as previously mentioned on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, we are going to have Arkansas commit Eli Thornton join the show here in a little bit and get a sneak peek and get to know him before he heads over and joins Arkansas in this upcoming recruiting class. So, nice Sunday afternoon. How's it going for you, Trae?
It's going good. Didn't go to church today, so don't hold that against me. But got a bunch of yard work done and got to spend some good quality time with the families, like always. How about you?
Yeah, for me, it was the nice little 3.5 hour trek back from Kansas City. As you know, I think we were talking, Zane and I went up and went to the World Cup match in Kansas City last night and drove back this morning from that. So I'm here. I'm tired, but we're still gonna rock along and have a great show. So we'll dive into it before we have Eli jump on here in about 15, 20 minutes or so. But as we dive into a few things last week to get your thoughts on, obviously the biggest one is we finally got the news last week in what is probably one of the biggest long-awaited things that Razorback Nation was waiting for. And that's the new stadium naming rights that, has been sitting dormant or vacant, I guess, for 2 years now. And, you have, I guess, one last tour with Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium, as that will remain the name for this 2026 season. But then starting officially in 2027, Arkansas will be playing football in Community America Razorback Stadium. So, that news came out last week. Trae, what was your initial thoughts when you saw that? And, from that point when it came out last week to now, how do you feel altogether?
Yeah, so whenever the news broke, I kind of was like Zane and like what he mentioned on the podcast last week. I didn't know how I felt about it. I thought for sure we were going to get a Walmart Tyson Hunt, something along those lines. But kind of like Zane said, as he sat back and thought about it, and it really grew on him, and same for me. I think this is nothing but a positive thing, and it's a good change for the Razorback athletics because everything on our campus is partnered with Hunt, Walton, Tyson. So it's going to be a good change, and we can't ignore the fact that for once Hunter Yurchuk did something right and got a lot of money out of this. So that's going to be a huge recruiting advantage for us. And when we talk about rev share and all that other good stuff, this helps out tremendously.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing, between when we got that news on Wednesday last week and now is shortly after Wednesday, towards the end of the week, we finally got the thing that everybody is waiting to see. Is we found out that dollar amount, and that was the big thing everybody was wondering. Is like, well, did we kind of get that number that Yurachek had, went and told the board of trustees that he thinks the valuation of the stadium naming rights was between $4 and $5 million? Well, like you said, turns out, it seems like Yurachek hit this one out of the park, as it came out that this deal was reported the 12 to 13 million or 12 to 13 year, how you want to look at it, 13 in total, but 12 with it officially being on the stadium, since that won't be replaced till next year. But a $70 million deal across, that time frame, and averaging out to be about $5.4-ish million a year, which does make this one of the most lucrative, naming rights deal in college football, topping I think the previous high was USC out in California when they partnered with United Airlines back in 2019 for I believe it was $4.3 million naming rights deal. So, you know, Yurachek took a big swing, and he said he was trying to vet, you know, find the best opportunity, and he did it. That NIL is going to be big, or that funding, however it's spread out. One would assume a lot of it's probably going to go to NIL, for football, and probably spread across some other things. But that's insane to me. And I think it makes that deal feel much better after we kind of know that we kind of got more plus some for what was the expected valuation of the naming rights.
Yeah, and and whenever we talk about Arkansas remaining competitive, especially on the gridiron, it takes a lot of money. Because we are, there's no right away around it. We're falling behind. And this will allow us to be back in the race. But then as soon as we get back in the race, Ole Miss will do something or LSU will do something. So it's going to be a never-ending battle. So, and this is where I
Right.
think Yurachek needs to be at is instead of being one step behind or just trying to keep up with the times, he needs to be one step ahead of the times. Um, I mean, we could be looking at, look at Vandy for the longest time since I can remember. They were the laughing stock of SEC football. Now, I'm not going to say which team, but there's another team there that it's taken its place almost. But we're hopefully we're going to replace that and get a good turnaround. And I think we got the right coach in store or in place. I believe he's got the right mentality and mindset. And I think whenever people hear Eli talk today, they're going to realize what kind of character and what kind of people Coach Silverfield is targeting for his class or his team.
Yeah. And it's like jokingly but true here. Train's playing text and jokes. He said the countdown to the first 2027 kickoff at Cars will begin, for next year's football season. But in a more serious note, he mentions this, and this is a good point. A new funding pipeline for our Razorback athletics, key to the big ticket value, that placement of how Community America is going to be placed below the Razorback logo midfield. Not only is it going to be on the outside of the stadium, on the stadium name, but it is also going to appear on the field as well. Learfield, Transplant Texas said Learfield also has managed to angle for an extension for them as well. So that's the big thing. It's going to be interesting to see, once that time span passes through and we get to that point where it's like, okay, do they want to re-up type of thing? But, with, not only getting the naming rights on the field or on the stadium, going to be placing their logo on the field. And then, we talked a little bit about before the show is, you have fans starting to sign up for a Community America account that they have the Razorback. They'll have the Razorback checking type, account available for, Arkansas fans or honestly whoever, but mainly for Arkansas fans. They did the same thing when they're the official banking sponsor with the Kansas City Chiefs and did the same thing there too. So, they've got a lot of additional things other than just the stadium naming rights. So, like Transplant Texan said, it kind of sets you up for a potential extension if this goes well. So,
Yeah, and the thing about, and I believe it was Zane who said it last week, is with Community America, they don't really have a loose in this situation because they're paying the money to have their name on the side of the stadium, but all it is just a big old advertisement for them to expand. Does that mean that they're going to be the stadium name is going to be the same in the next 13 to 14 years? Maybe, maybe not. They're going to move on to bigger and better things, and we'll be right back in this boat. But who knows if it turns out to be a good partnership? Then I don't see them going anywhere.
right, exactly. So, as this kind of we get more details as it slowly comes out, it'll be interesting to see how this partnership's going to work with Community America Credit Union. But like Yurachek mentioned, for this coming season, you'll start seeing some things in the stadium, but in terms of a lot of the naming and visuals of things being replaced across the stadium, that's going to be a 9 to 12 month process. So you're not going to necessarily see a ton of that now. You'll start seeing like easier things to control, like video board stuff and things like logos on the field much more sooner than what you will in actual like physical naming that they have to replace that on the stadium. So as we get more info on that, we will continue to update you guys. But like we both said, it's grown on us, especially not this not coming at it as like a money hungry way, but when you see the kind of deal that your check struck, it's like I can roll with, getting used to the name. And it's like a lot of people said back when it was first named Donald W. Reynolds Razorback Stadium, that still probably sounded weird then too. So, I think as this goes and this partnership deal grows, it's going to be easier for people to go ahead and accept the new naming of the stadium. So, I'm excited. I think it's a great thing that Arkansas has done. Definitely will help us play catch up, if you will, in the NIL game and space. So, it's going to be, hopefully we can continue to make strides like this. And I think it was I saw somebody mention the other day, it's like, man, it's like Hunter Yurchek gets put in the corner and then has this, he makes an absolute crazy move, something like this, where it's like, great, we don't really like this new name. And then boom, he got over what he kind of told the board of trustees that he was expected out of this valuation. So it's like, maybe he just strives under pressure and clutch situations. Who knows?
Yeah, and I kind of made the joke on a private group chat that we have that Yurchek is a solid used car salesman, but every now and then he gets thrown into the Mercedes or the Lamborghini yard or lot, and he'll pull one
And
out of the
closes
hat.
that deal.
Yeah. So and that's the thing about it is I truly believe, and this is kind of going off topic a little bit, but if he would stay off of Twitter and stop trying to make you know make jokes on ESPN and just be all about business. I mean, sure you got to joke every now and then, but don't make them dad jokes though. That's he's been kind of the embarrassing sore thumb for the Hogs for a long time now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So yeah, it's one of those things where I think it's that you take the good with the bad type of situation. So, you know, I'll take the good, and it's unfortunate when you have those times where you kind of just have to step back and kind of shake your head a little bit. But in terms of news for football, before we do have Eli jump on, so Arkansas added an additional commit over this weekend to next year's class of 2027 recruits when Bridge City, Texas linebacker Bryce Breeden committed to Arkansas 6'1", 210. Out of Texas, committed to Arkansas over Arizona, TCU, Purdue, Northwestern, and Michigan. He is rated as a 3-star per 24/7 Sports. He was in Fayetteville last weekend for his final visit of the summer. He was recruited by Arkansas's defensive coordinator, Ron Roberts, and our linebackers coach, Kenan Gibbs. He did make official visits to each of those final choices except Michigan. But, Arkansas gets another one of those tough, hard-nosed Texas linebackers coming in. And, it is Arkansas' 16th newest commitment just since May 31st. So in the span of a month, Silverfield's gotten 16 new commitments for this team. And, he's joining hometown Fayetteville High School linebacker Will Caston in next year's class in terms of the linebacking core.
Yeah, and so Bryce, you mentioned that he was a 3-star recruit. Once again, if you watch his tape and watch the way that he plays, he doesn't play like a 3-star recruit. When you look at his size, his height, his weight, how he moves, and how he hits, I think a lot of Razorback fans are going to see a lot of comparison to Bumper Pool. And we all love Bumper. So, I'm really excited to see if he can work out for us. And who knows? We may have the next tackle leader just committed to us.
Yeah. So it's exciting to see, Silverfield keeps on pressuring and adding these recruits for this class. So, fantastic stuff there as that continues on. Obviously we saw the news yesterday. Arkansas missed out on Alvin Mosley. You know, can't get them all. But I think overall with what Silverfield's been able to do with this class, you know, you got to look at it and like it so far. And if you do look at it, so we have a total 23 hard commits for next year's class. Um, and according to 24/7 Sports, that ranks us around 30th. So, for not being necessarily Silverfield's 100% his own class, and the going through and having a head coaching change, I feel like that's pretty solid to be in the top 30 with having a coaching change and different things of that nature, and him coming in and being able to maintain and hold on to some recruits, grab some new recruits. I mean, if you look at it, Silverfield signed 4-star recruits in this class.
Yeah, and so we're talking about 3-star, 4 stars. Once again, I'm gonna put a little asterisk beside that 30th ranking because those guys who are 3 stars and 4 stars are so close to moving up another star. I mean, this could potentially turn into a top 10 recruiting class if everybody pans out or gets at least another half a star. Um, and so, and that, again, you guys have heard me say it several times. I don't pay attention to stars because stars don't really show attitude, work ethic. Um, it's just all about skill, and some people are a little bit late bloomers than other. And again, I said it before, and I'll say it again. Look at Dre Greenlaw, 3-star recruit coming out of high school. He's played in 3 or 4 Super Bowls now. So, again, stars I don't like.
Right. You can't rely on that 100% because it's like how many times have you seen a perfect example guys come in and kind of, I guess, quote unquote, overperform what they were rated and turn out to be guys that if, they got ranked on how they played once they got to campus would have been a 4 or 5-star type of guy. So, it's not necessarily focusing on the stars, but, like you mentioned, looking at that character and guys that can come in with the work ethic because the old phrasing, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So
Yeah, for sure. And just another plug too. Um, I think we're going to see exactly what we're talking about as far as hard work attitude and all the other good stuff when Eli hops on. Like I said, I absolutely love Eli. We've been talking for a couple weeks now, and like I said, I told him that Hawk fans are going to love him because he is going to put in the work. This may be a little bit, this may be a stretch, may not be, but just talking to him, it kind of gives me like the feel of like a Brandon Burlsworth player, somebody who's willing to come in and just put in the work to get better and to make a name for himself. So we'll see.
yeah. So, that'll be coming up here shortly. So, as we, wait on that, your quick thoughts on this past week we had obviously the NBA draft going. Your thoughts on, Acuff, Thomas, Brazil, where they went, and where you see the potential based off their landing spots.
Yeah, so I think Acuff landed exactly where everybody thought he would go, and that was to Sacramento. Um, I'm really surprised that Leak fell out of the first round, but I can't say I'm not surprised by it though at the same time because if you look at his projections, he was projected late first, early second. That's exactly where he went. Um, I think if somebody would have told him, "Hey, League, you're going to be drafted in the second round," we'd see him back in a Razorback uniform this year. As far as TB, I think he landed in a pretty good spot. Um, to maybe not be a contributor right away, but he to eventually get some playing time, get in there. And if you watch the Nuggets play, they're a very tall, very athletic team, and I think that fits him just perfectly as well.
Yeah.
Um, and if I'm Darius Acuff too, I'm mad at the Kings only because they drafted my boy, but then got traded to Cleveland.
Right.
So you know that's the downside. And I feel bad that Leak's got to go play next to that guy. Oh yeah, James Harden. He
Right.
doesn't know how to play defense, so hopefully Leak can teach him a couple things or two about playing defense.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing that Hog fans overall with this draft, that was the biggest thing coming out of this draft was the whole man, if Leak knew he was going to drop to that second round, there was probably really good odds that you see him back in a Razorback uniform next year, making much more than probably what his rookie deal is going to be, if we're just being honest. But you gotta, as much as that, sucks as a Razorback fan, you got to applaud Malik on, betting on himself, making the decision he thought was right for himself. I'm not going to fault any kid for, trying to do what's right for him, believing in himself, things like that. So, best of luck to Malik. But, on the selfish side of a Razorback fan, man, it would have been great to have him back in a Razorback uniform next year.
Absolutely. And I'm trying to look it up real quick, and so far there's um, no data or anything public yet about the contracts that Darius signed or leaked. So I'm really interested in seeing what that will look like whenever that stuff gets released.
Yeah.
Let's just say that Darius is going to have a lot more money than Leak, though.
I was about to say, yeah, going top 10 lottery, definitely so, especially, he'll be rocking that, not Adidas, Reebok contract too,
Yep.
that he signed right towards the end of the season. But as we do know, one big thing we do know is Acuff will continue to wear his signature number 5 with the Kings. So, Hog fans get ready to go, drop that money on some number 5 Kings jersey, Acuff Jr. Kings jerseys to support Acuff. But yeah, like you said, Brazil, I'm glad to see him finally. He's had an up and down college career, and to see him go in the second round, I think when a couple years ago, you would have said, no way, there's no way this kid gets drafted in the second round. But to see his maturity level, how Cal's been able to work with him and kind of get him on a serious note, very focused, and then put in the effort, and you see him benefiting from that. And I like the pairing of him with Jokic and that Nuggets team. Obviously, I think what you can kind of expect out of a guy like Brazil is to come in and be a very solid role player, to play alongside your star and Jokic. Jokic is going to always demand all the attention. I can see it now. We get a highlight of Jokic catches it in the high post. Brazil flashes to the basket. The attention's on Jokic. Easy lob for Brazil for a big flashy dunk with the Nuggets.
Yeah, and if you're looking at the Nuggets roster too, I'm a huge OKC fan. I love my Thunder through and through. But you look at the Nuggets roster. I mean, they got Jokic, they got Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, Jonas Valanciunas, Christian Braun, Tyus Jones, and Christian. I think I might have said, but Christian Braun as well. You add TB in there. That they are a very tall, very athletic team. So again, that's why I'm looking forward to watching him play. Now, do I think he's going to get a lot of playing time? Probably not. He'll probably go to the G League for the first season, kind of develop. But um, you know, if we know TV, I mean, he's shown every Razorback fan he's willing to put in the work, and so I don't think that's going to stop now.
Right, exactly. So, and I think that's the truth for all these guys. They're going to put in the work. Obviously, the journey is going to be a little different for a guy like Acuff compared to maybe Leak in Brazil. Those two guys probably getting more run in the G League at first, where more than likely you're going to see Acuff kind of almost from day one be a guy that is a starter for the Kings. So I mean, a little bit different paths there, but I think all these guys have the potential to be, potential key players on their respective rosters. And that path will be a little bit different, and maybe that timetable is a little bit different. Whereas like Acuff essentially is going to be um, your kind of new face of the franchise situation, where Leak in Brazil, like I said, can be those type of guys that could turn into stars, but could be really great role players with their respective teams once they kind of get up to speed, if you will.
Yeah, and real quick, transplant brings a lot of good points to every single show, but his last one is probably the best point he's ever made on this show. Must have party in Arkansas and Calipari getting hired was the best thing that happened at TB. And you know what? You're 100% correct. Talking to a couple guys that played under Muss, it was more like a club, a party inside the locker room, and now Cal has it ran as a business. He expects a lot out of his guys, and he expects them to carry themselves with a certain swagger, but ultimately just get the job done.
Yeah. And so, that is big to think about that as well. So, a lot of factors that could play into that. But yeah, I mean, like you said, and I think the biggest thing with that was the fact that, Cal came in and pretty much challenged Brazil. He said, "Hey, I know you've got what it takes to be a really great player. We've seen that in spurts." And he's like, "I need that from you consistently, even from last year's or the team 2 years ago, Cal's first season, to this past season where um, we saw Brazil really get consistent towards the end of the year 2 years ago. And Cal challenged him. He was like, "Hey, I need that consistency, that intensity, that hard work 100% of the time." And you've seen, those expectations for Brazil to come in this year and this past year. And, he had, some up and down points during the season, but was a lot more consistent than I think, what he's ever been while he was at Arkansas.
It's 100% correct. Man, I will say I just love the comment section right now. All these guys in here talking about and getting involved in the show. Guys, we appreciate y'all. We appreciate your input and your comments. And we'll try to get to them as much as we can. But when Eli hops on here, though, is we'll jump with you guys as much as we can. Just know that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what makes the show super fun is you guys that get involved and ask us questions and is able to um, get in what you want us to talk about and things like that. So
Real quick, Caleb, got a kind of question. We were talking about Cal versus Muss. I honestly think that what we're getting out of Cal is what we were expecting or hoping we would get out of Muss. Somebody who has that NBA experience, somebody who has thrown some players into the NBA draft. Um, but we are getting exactly what we wanted, but better. So, as Arkansas fans, it's kind of hard not to be, I would say, a little bit cocky about our basketball team because we have a Hall of Fame coach who brings in Hall of Fame assistant coaches who puts on a show. And personally for me, I love watching the Razorback basketball team because it gives you a taste of NBA play and NBA style of coaching, but a little more faster pace.
right.
So
And I think that's the big thing too, and especially you talk about the Hall of Fame and what he brings. I mean, you just look at it after Acuff's, getting drafted the other night. Cal becomes the active coach with the most guys taken in the lottery of anybody, surpassing Coach K and hitting that 30 mark with 30 players taken in just the lottery. That's not counting all of his players in the NBA that played for him. That's just the guys that were drafted in the lottery. Some coaches are lucky to, and this is not a bad thing, but some coaches are lucky just to get 2, 3, 4 guys picked in the lottery in their coaching career. And Cal has 30. Just to put that in perspective, that is wild. So it's crazy to think of just Cal has his fingertips and in all of these all these franchises. He's got players across the league that, and not only players but coaches that have some type of relationship um, or some connection to Cal in some way, uh, all across the league. So
Yeah, and we all know too, like with Cal being Calipari, if, if you want to go make money and you want a personal brand that everybody will know, Cal's your guy. I
right,
mean, you look at all the supermax contracts in the NBA right now. I'd say I'm not gonna say nine out of 10 of them, but I'd say the majority of them all have one thing in common. They all played for Coach John Calipari. So, that's that. What kind of flex is that to walk into somebody's house? Like, hey, you want to make almost for 30, $40 million next year? Come play for me, and we may be able to make that happen.
yeah, and it's like that I think I was talking with Zane about it. It's like he tells these guys, it's like, hey, and I think this is where a lot of the conversation comes into uh the whole Cal's not getting into bidding wars, because he's telling these kids, it's like, hey, I know you want to make a lot of money, but for now, work with me a little bit here and come play for me for a year, maybe two. And then we'll get to the point where we're going to get you drafted. Then we're going to get you making the big time money, millions type of um, situation. So, it's one of those things where it's like, hey, it's some give and take here. Come coach or come play for me, learn from me. And then, from that experience, you'll be better off when you get drafted and be able to make the money then.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and I know we probably shouldn't do this, but looking ahead of time, I'm wondering if Hunter Yurchek is our athletic director after Cal calls it quits. What kind of doors is that going to open up for our next head coach? And I guess it's the same thing said for Dave Van Horn too. So it's one of those things where, again, looking down the road, hopefully it's not anytime soon, but can Cal build this Razorback brand up enough to where we can go steal another legendary coach who would want to come to Arkansas, who who knows what the brand is and what we're about.
Yeah, exactly. So, lots of great things there. Um, and you love it. And we'll get back to the basketball talk here in a little bit. But it's that time. We're going to get ready to welcome Eli to the show. And so, just like to give you a little background, he is from Jonesboro Valley View High School. He committed to Arkansas on April 26th of this past April. So we're going to welcome Eli to the show. How's it going, man?
Oh, Eli, your mic's muted.
Oh,
There you
all
go.
right. Oh, my bad. Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. So, obviously, you're part of one of Silverfield's first classes here at Arkansas, but for fans that may not know much about you, so just tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Eli?
My name is Eli Thornton. I play D line. I'm commit to Arkansas. Just right now I'll give you like a little my I'm like 6'3", 330 right now. I have younger siblings. I'm the oldest of my family. I live with two parents, mom and dad. I grew up in was born in Little Rock. Lived in Valonia, like 2 hours away from Fayetteville, till like kindergarten, and then from kindergarten to now, I've been living in Jonesboro my whole life. So that's been the story right now.
Yeah, so kind of going off of that, you said that you're living in Jonesboro. What's it like to grow up and to live in Jonesboro?
There's not too much to do around here, but I mean, there's there's like a couple. There's a lot of good schools around. You got Jonesboro's a big one. Brooklyn, us, Valley View, West Side, like some couple small schools. I mean, growing up in Jonesboro, you just find like a group of your friends and try to find somewhere to hang out or find something to do, and then without that, it's just football and school, really.
Yeah, so kind of taking us back a little bit, what originally got you into football in the first place?
I would say when I was about like 4, I've been growing up watching football. Um, my dad played football. My everyone really that was a guy in my family played football. So when I was 4, started playing um flag football for like this club in Jonesboro, and then got into playing tackle football for the club, and then we played tackle football for my like pee wee football, our school team, and then junior high and high school. So I've been playing football since I was 4. I also started playing basketball since the same age too. So I've been a lot of sports. Played soccer the same age too. So a lot of sports growing up.
Yeah, so you mentioned that you're playing. You started off with flag football, but once you got into tackle football, was the defensive line always your position, or did you have another position growing up?
Um, I I would say D line and O line were the main positions, but I got a couple of videos in the camera roll when I was at running back a little bit. So I played a little running back and then a little receiver too. So those were the good days when I was a skill position.
I think you need to upload those clips to your ex so we can
Mm-hmm.
maybe talk to Coach Silverfield and getting you lined up in the backfield.
Hey, some
that
special
that that'd be good with
packages
me.
there.
Uh-huh.
So, looking back across your football journey so far, what would you say is the funniest thing that's happened to you during a football game or practice?
There was last year, my sophomore year, there was one game that we played against West Memphis, and I guess I accidentally poked the dude in the eye when I was coming off the ball, and so like he after the play he was just like standing there and like screaming, and he couldn't even see. He was trying to like run at me, so he was running all across the field, like couldn't see where I was because he was holding his eye. So I thought that was pretty funny, but he ended up being fine, which was good because I didn't mean to poke him in the eye, but I guess that's kind of what it looked like. But that was kind of a funny moment.
All right, man. So you said fourth grade to now, man. Was there ever a time where you sat back and you thought this could be something a lot bigger than just a game? This could be your career.
Yeah, I would say that moment was probably in junior high. After my ninth grade year, uh, my past D line coach, like me and him talked, and he was like, it probably makes more sense to quit basketball and then get in the weight room on off season for football and take it serious because I can I can do it in college and try to make a living off of it. So that worked out pretty well. That was the turning point where I was like, I'm just gonna focus on football and um, put my all into football and see where it goes, and it's turned out pretty well.
Yeah, for sure. So, you mentioned it when we first started off and brought you on at 6'3", 330. You're a heck of a lot to deal with. So, was there a point in your football career growing up, whether it be junior high, whatever, when you like hit a growth spurt and started to really excel?
I would my sophomore year, I was probably like 6'2", 270, and then my junior year, I would say I shot up to I shot up to 6'3", and then I put on a good bit of weight. I went from 270 to like 315, and then over this off season, I've put on like 15-ish pounds, and then when senior season comes, I'm wanting to get down to that junior year weight, 315. So I'd say I kind of after my sophomore year was kind of my point of like I guess like exploding with weight and height. So that was probably a big growth spurt year.
Yeah, so kind of doing a full circle here. So you mentioned that you play on the D line. What's your favorite part about playing on the D line?
I would just say like how violent you get to be with your hands, and then my favorite part about it is you get to make plays and you get noticed for making plays a lot. Because I mean, receiver you get seen making plays. Um, every position besides, I mean, not a lot of people watch the O line D line, So when a D lineman makes a big sack or a big tackle, a lot of people see that and it really sticks out. I feel like that's my favorite part about playing D line is the physicality and then getting to make a play.
Yeah. So, thinking about your game and how you describe it, would you say are you more of a run stopper type of D line pass rusher, or do you do a little bit of everything really well, or is there one aspect of that you feel like you really excel in than the other?
I would say I'm kind of like I'm more of a run stopper, but I've I've developed my pass rush a lot. That's another main thing I'm working on this off season. So I feel like um more of a run stopper and then also can pass rush. I feel like my pass rush game helped a lot. Got a lot of help from me playing basketball my whole life. So I feel like I can definitely pass rush and a little bit of both, I would say.
Yeah, so talking about you one of the comments in here saying that you're a young man that likes violence and physicality on defense, and that's one thing that I know I'm excited about watching you play,
Mhm.
and watching your tape, man. That you're exactly that. Valley View is a very lucky high school to have you, man.
Is there like
And in the next couple years, I think you'll show these Hawk fans what how lucky we are to have you as well.
is there
So go thinking back at your time now, and whether it be in high school camps or whatnot, what's the toughest offensive lineman you've gone against?
um I'd I, I've played I don't really know like names, but probably my sophomore year when we played Parkview, that was probably one of the toughest games. Um Another tough game was probably not like tough, I would say, but like gave a little bit of a challenge was when we played Harrison last year. Um and then Marion when Carius Kern was on the O line. Yeah, Carius Kern is probably the hardest O lineman I've been against. He was that was my sophomore year too. My first ever high school game was a scrimmage. So he showed up, came out of the tunnel. They brought like an inflatable tunnel during our scrimmage game, and he came out of the tunnel jumping up and down carrying a Chucky doll. And then I had to line up against him my first ever high school game. So that was definitely a wake up call after that.
Fair enough. So, thinking about what your film and when you've met with coaches, what's one thing about your game that coaches have seen on films that maybe your average fan might not notice?
I would definitely say my IQ when I'm on the line of scrimmage. I like to watch film because I feel like I have a lot of I have a little bit of free time in my hands, so I like to throw on a little film on my TV or on my phone and just look at how they line up into different packages, or like if an O lineman's pulling, you can see if they're on the heel of their foot a little bit, like leaning back about to pull, or if it's like a run block, they'll be on their toes more and head down. So I feel like there's a clip on my highlight reel you kind of see that when the O lineman goes head first and I hit a swim move. So that's a big part of my game that not a lot of people see is definitely my IQ.
That's awesome, man. Because having that IQ on that D line is, a real big deal, especially whenever you're lining up with the big boys from Georgia, Alabama, LSU. You line up against Carius Client or Carius again.
Hmm.
Um, but man, kind of circling back. So you obviously you said that you played basketball growing up, but let's talk about you playing in track and field. A lot of people, like you said, you see you at 330 pounds and think football player. But yeah, that's a football player build. But you've also have been qualified for the state in shot put and discus. How much has that helped you out in your football career?
I think it helped out a lot, especially with discus. It helped me out with the footwork a lot. I did shot put and discus since I was like in sixth grade. I did AAU and stuff with that too. Um, I would say I'm better at discus than I am at shot put, just with how much I practiced it more when I was younger with like the spin and the footwork and all that. It definitely helped, especially shot put too, getting stronger with that so I can throw it farther. And then a big part about throwing is the footwork, so that definitely helped being on the D line too.
Yeah, so mentioning that, I think you kind of answered that there. So between those two events, which one do you prefer more, shot put or discus?
I would say discus just because I'm better at it. I would think I like to practice at it more. Um, I finished uh finished third in state in the state meet. The last one we had, so that was my last ever time throwing discus. So that was a little bit of an emotional time because I've been doing it for a while. I would definitely say my best one's discus.
Yeah, and so kind of looking back, and this is kind of getting into your recruiting a little bit, but whenever you had the Arkansas coaches or any of these other school coaches coming to talk to you, did they ever once mention your track numbers while they were evaluating you, or I mean, did that go into any kind of your recruitment at all?
I never really talked to like any throwing coaches in college because the throwers in college are it's like it's a different level than what I was doing in high school. But they definitely brought it up like every meet, asked how I did and stuff. Uh, definitely. I got first most meets, so I wasn't like I took it. I guess you could say I took it a little. I took it pretty serious because I was trying to win every meet and did it for a while. That was definitely a topic of discussion when I would talk to coaches through the recruiting process.
Yeah, so thinking about you, like you mentioned, played football, played basketball, has have done the shot putting stuff in track and field. So, what would surprise most people more, your strength or your athleticism?
I would definitely say my athleticism, just because of how big I am. People probably think I'm like a just like a sit down in the gap and wait for the dude to come get me, but Um, for growing up, I've been big. Been the biggest kid on the field and on the court too. So that's shocked a lot of people. Basketball definitely helped with that. Played AAU my whole life and school ball. So I would say the athleticism definitely comes from playing basketball a lot, and that's probably the biggest thing that shocks a lot of people.
Yeah, so again, kind of circle back around now. Whenever Coach Wilkerson or any of the Arkansas staff was coming to talk to you, did you ever once challenge them to a shot put competition or a discus throw?
We've talked about playing some basketball before. My little brother, he plays basketball too, so him and Coach Wilk always talk about how they need to put the basketball shoes on in 1v1, but that hasn't happened yet, so hopefully it happens pretty soon.
Kind of a side question: is your little brother going to be pretty close to your size?
I hope so. He's probably about like 5'10", 5'11" right now, like 210. He plays DN right now, trying to get him some looks right now, but he's still pretty young.
Well, uh, if having the last name authority on the back of your jersey and whatnot, I feel like he's going to hit a growth spurt and do exactly what you did, man.
Hope so.
Yeah, so thinking to your high school teammates, is there a teammate at Valley View who thinks they can outthrow you in either the shot put or discus?
Uh, we don't really have a lot of throwers at our school, so there hasn't been anyone that thinks they can outthrow me. We had I think like two. We had three throwers at our school, so there wasn't too many. We got a kid the grade below me who's pretty good. Hopefully, maybe he'll beat the records because he's pretty good at discus and shot put. So maybe he'll definitely have a shot of beating the records.
Well, that's awesome, man. And so now we're going to get into kind of like my favorite topic, and it's going to be about your recruitment. And that's what a lot of these guys in the comment, guys and girls are in the comment, are really interested in hearing about. So we'll just jump right in, man. So thinking back at when Arkansas and Coach Will came and talked to you, what or any coaches really, what was it like getting that very first scholarship offer?
It was like the first scholarship offer or like the offer from Arkansas.
We'll just go with your very first scholarship offer.
Okay. My parents were playing tennis and I was at my house, chilling on my phone watching TikTok, and then I get a text from the Wyoming D line coach hopping on a call, and then I run up to my room, pretty excited, and he calls and offers. I remember that like it was yesterday, because that was a big part of just seeing that belief, seeing what someone else believed in me too. So that was a cool moment. Shared it with my parents when they came home from tennis. So that was definitely a cool moment.
Let's flip that a little bit. What was it like whenever you got that offer from Arkansas?
It was that was probably one of the best days of my life, you could say, because growing up in Arkansas, um, your dream is to play for the Razorbacks. I mean, I don't really care what anyone else says. If you live in Arkansas and you play football and you watch the Hogs growing up, then you want to play for the Razorbacks. So that was a really cool day. Toured the facilities and all that, and then at the end, we were in Coach Silverfield's office, he got to know my family, got to know a little more about him, and then he offered, and then um, a lot of people, Twitter, the little X, went pretty cool. Posted it, and that really took off. So that was a very exciting day.
I was about to say, love to see that mentality. Everybody loves all these, the talent that comes in, but to hear guys like yourself that are Arkansas kids that love to take the pride, and I've always wanted to be a Razorback, and that's what I'm going to do, is awesome. So thinking about getting all these offers from not only Arkansas but schools all over the country, overall, you've kind of hit on a little bit. What's that experience been like for you and your family with visits and talking with all these coaches? Just what's that overall experience been like?
It was definitely a quick 6 months of my recruiting process. Took a lot of visits, a lot of drives, phone calls, and text messages. So I was supposed to commit on July 4th, but we were getting a lot of it was a lot of drives and stuff. So I was about ready to shut it down and commit. So it definitely worked out at the spring game when I was like, yes, we were out in the field before the spring game. And I was like, yeah, this is where I want to play. This is where I want to be. So that was going to all these visits and stuff. You definitely get to meet and a lot of new people and see how everything works. So it definitely helps with my younger brother. Maybe he'll get some looks at, so he'll know what to do and stuff. So the recruiting process was good. It was very fast for me. Um, but overall, it was a great time.
Yeah, and so kind of a side question here. So Caleb and I were also there at the spring game as well. And like our viewers know, we both are on the record saying that just when we were there, you could tell there was a different energy about the guys out there on the field, that they want to be there and they want to play football for the University of Arkansas. Could you feel that energy as well?
hmm I definitely did, especially on the spring game, and I would say even more so when I went to go watch practices. Um you could see just all the guys on the team like nonstop giving it their all. Coach Searfield, every position, you'd see him over there trying to fix this or trying to fix that, and then just the small things too, like don't jump off sides or don't hold, just like the little things where you can control. Because I mean, that's what not a lot of people expected Indiana to do. How great they did, but they handled the controllable things and they won a national championship. So just really focusing on those, and then still just being a dog on the field. So and the small things too, not even on the field, but with the program, just like bringing more donors. I mean, is what he's trying to do. And then just making the program better than it's ever been, and bringing the field back to Arkansas football. So you can definitely feel it's a new era, and it's really cool. I definitely, from a commits POV, um I would definitely like tell fans that it's going to be exciting, especially with what Coach Silverfield's doing. So it's pretty exciting.
For sure. Okay, the kind of my actual question was supposed to be, reflecting back on your recruiting, has it been everything you expected? Or was there anything that really surprised you about the recruitment process?
I would. I wouldn't say really like anything like super surprised me. But it was like a growing up, like you watch these YouTube videos of all these like really popular high school recruits going on these visits, and then you go on them and you see the exact same thing you've been watching. So not a lot of things like really shocked me. Um, but there was a lot of visits that were really cool. Uh, like the coaching staff really poured into me a lot. Um, but I mean, yeah, nothing. They were all pretty cool, and then Arkansas was just the one that did it.
Yeah, so thinking about that, before even, the Arkansas offer came, when you started thinking about, okay, I really have an opportunity to go play, college football. What was one of the biggest things that you were looking for in a college program whenever you started getting these recruitments and coaches contacting with you? Like, what was, a few of the biggest things that, were at the top of your list of like, hey, if I'm going to see myself play at this school, what does this program got to have?
Um, I would definitely say relationships. That's a big thing with me, especially how college football is getting right now. Just building that relationship and the development, seeing like how the coaches have developed, like where have they coached, who have they coached in the past, and the scheme on the team, the defensive scheme, and going back our relationships, just like I got a good friend, Danny Bill, who's on the team right now, and then Anthony Kennedy had talked. So building that relationship with the D line room and the D line coaches, and then Coach Sewerfield can't really be anywhere else. So that was the main thing that made me want to go and commit to Arkansas, where the relationships I've been building.
Yeah, so you kind of talking about your high school career and whatnot. Man, how did you or how I would say this? How do you balance being a high profile recruit whilst focusing on high school football?
I would say just with schoolwork, just I mean, just getting it done, not really trying to do the most with schoolwork, just getting it done and making sure everything's turned in on time, and then just doing what needs to be done on the field, just trying to be a leader at practice, making sure everything's going how it needs to be, especially with how good of a coaching staff we have. Um, just getting our seniors this year on the team, we have great leadership. Uh, School is not too hard, so I mean, it's it's not really too hard to balance between them. Um, you just gotta do what I need to do, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's going to be much easier now that you've kind of got that commitment locked down, and you don't have to worry about that aspect of it as much now, and you can really focus on just playing football.
Hmm.
So, thinking about this Arkansas coaching staff, obviously, yeah, as you're well aware, and we're a big part of that is, we have, Silfield that came in, with a coaching change situation, and then Coach Wilkerson coming in. So, we know Wilkerson played a big role in recruiting you. So, how did that relationship start once he joined the staff here at Arkansas with Coach Silfield?
Um, so I started talking with Coach Hobby when he was at Arkansas. I planned to go on a junior day, and then that got canceled with weather. And then he went to the Colts, I'm pretty sure, to be the D line coach. And then when he left, Coach Cotton actually called me and just talked about like what was going on, and then just checking in and started to build that relationship. So I started the relationship with Coach Cotton since I would say maybe February. Um, January, February, around that time when winter started and it was like snowing a lot. Um, so and then Coach Wilt came in. He was named D line coach as well. So started those relationships a while back, and really liked both of them. Just not even as coaches, but as people too, and how big their family oriented is, and how big they are in relationships.
So you were talking about Coach Wilk being big on family and the relationships and whatnot. What would you say what's one trait of Coach Wilk that somebody like yourself as a recruit or as a commit makes it easy to connect with him?
he's a coach that will be honest with you and is not going to sugarcoat things, which that's how I want it to be. When I get to college, I want to be coached. I don't want to hear like, oh, you're doing a great job, but then I'm not getting any better. So that was a big thing with Coach Wilk. He's gonna be straightforward. He wants to see you at your best ability, and that's what he's gonna do as a coach. Um, and then also same thing with Coach Cotton. He's gonna give it to you straightforward, and then also he's a real nice guy too. So um, off the field, he'll make sure you and your family are doing good. Just checking, always checking in, and then big family guy too. He just had a daughter not too long ago, so that was a cool moment for him. So just both of those coaches, Coach Cotton, Coach Wilker, two special coaches and guys that built a relationship with, and that really valued the relationship I have with them.
Yeah, so thinking about since that he joined staff and started that conversation with you with was there can you think of a specific conversation with Coach Wilk that has really stuck with you since you started that relationship with him?
Not kind of not when like we started, but it was the day before the spring game. Uh, Not the day before, but a couple of days throughout the weeks that we talked, he'd be like, "Oh," he'd text me and be like, "We got all these guys asking when Eli Thornton's gonna hop on the boat and commit." And then the day before the spring game, he texted me. He's like, "We got a lot of guys on the staff and people in Fayetteville expecting you to commit tomorrow." And I thought that was funny because I already talked to my parents and planned on it. So I texted him. I said we'll have to see, and then it ended up being what he thought. So that was a pretty cool moment.
Yeah, so a lot of people think now that, you said, "Hey, I'm coming to the University of Arkansas, Coach Wilk and Coach Silverfield. I'm committing to you," and that's just when the conversation stopped. Is Coach Wilk and the Arkansas staff still reaching out to you as like even as of today?
Oh yeah, the Coach Silverfield makes sure to reach out almost every other day. So does Coach Cotton and Coach Wilt, and then definitely we just check in with each other, and then talk about who trying to recruit to commit to Arkansas too. So that's a pretty cool thing. Going from recruit to commit, and then trying to recruit other guys too. So all three of those guys check in with me almost every day, weekly, and then and just continue to build that relationship too until I enroll in January.
Yeah, that fun aspect of where the recruit becomes the recruiter. But thinking about Coach Wilk, so what is one thing Arkansas fans might not know about him behind the scenes?
That he's a big family guy. His family just moved in to Fayetteville. He got them all moved in. Um, not too much going on, especially when you're a college football coach. Your life's really just family and football, to be honest. So he's a cool guy. He's definitely him and Coach Cotton. One day when we were on my OV, um, I asked Coach Cotton, the other D line coach. Asked him what he do during downtime, because that was like a little time we got to chill in our hotels, and he said he was studying um, Tulsa's run game down. And I mean, it's not even we got like couple months till season, so that really showed how I see how both of those coaches are committed to the game. So that's a little like behind the scenes, I guess you could say, of what just to see how they are off the field.
Yeah, so now I want to kind of push the rewind button a little bit, and you kind of hinted at this already. And this is we're going to be talking about the day or the time when you decided Arkansas was going to be home. So you obviously you said you were at the red white game, and you pretty much already had your mind made up before that. It sounds like. But what was the moment when you actually knew for sure Fayetteville was going to be your home?
Um, I would definitely say there was one night when my parents wrote down on a whiteboard just like a couple of the schools that I was really leaning on to towards going to. So just that really put it all in front of us just to see like um what really stuck out, I guess you could say. that helped a lot with seeing where I wanted to go, and then really just I mean just like the relationships I had with the coaching staff and then the players on the team, and then just like the recruits that I talked to when I was up there, and then I mean really just being like your dream to play for the Razorbacks too plays a big part in it. So those are really the times where I kind of knew this is where I wanted to be.
Yeah. So, kind of once you finally made that decision, kind of walk us through the reaction from your family when you told them that you were committing. Like when you made up your mind, and let your parents, your siblings know what was their reaction when you said, I've got my decision. I know I'm going to be a Razorback.
It was cool. My dad was really excited. He was there with me on the spring game, and then I had a couple friends with the spring game too. They're big Arkansas fans, so that was a cool moment. And then FaceTime my mom after I did it. Hopped on FaceTime. She was crying. That was a really cool moment. And then my brother, my little siblings, they were all congratulating me and saying how cool it was. And I don't even know how many people text me and DM me on like about just can't wait to see you on the field and congrats. So it was really cool, especially being an in-state kid, just seeing all the support. And then you got the other guys saying all the haters being like 3-star you, and then oh great another 3-star. So I don't really worry too much about that, but it was definitely a really cool experience.
Yeah, and so I love the idea that you and your family sat down and really had a vision board. I like to call them on that whiteboard, and that's where you separated your schools. At so let me ask you this: on that, I'm gonna call it the vision board. What made Arkansas stand out?
The I would definitely say again going back to the relationships I've built throughout all the visits I've taken at Arkansas, and then just the facilities are great. Being an in-state kid is great. The scheme that I was looking for, it's gonna make to where the D line makes a lot of plays this year. Um, a lot of moving around, and then just to see what really did it was when I went to spring practice and just saw how Coach Wilk and Coach Cotton all like coached, and then just to see how the players really adapted to their coaching. Um, was really cool. And then also on my visits, Coach Wilk and Coach Cotton took the time to break down my film and all that. So just to see how much they're pouring into me just as a recruit and trying to get me to come to the school. But even after I'm committed, they're still going to my film and telling me like what I can do, what I can do to be better and stuff like that. So those were definitely like things that made me know that this is where I want to be.
Yeah, that's cool. And you've kind of hit on, talking about specific coaches and conversations that you've had, but thinking about looking at, for you, you know, even maybe before, the offer came, how important was it for you, like you said, growing up here? Was it how important for you was it to stay home and represent Arkansas and uh just be a Razorback?
I really started to like under kind of really understand and think about it more, kind of when like I got the offer, because before the offer came, I was kind of thinking about just like where I wanted to go, and um, thinking about what other schools might hop on the boat. So right when they offered, kind of understood like what the importance is to bring back Arkansas football to how it used to be, and bring it back to the state. And the ultimate goal is to win a national championship and then an SEC championship and bring that back to Arkansas.
Yeah, and again, you kind of mentioned about how when you committed, you got a bunch of DMs and ats and whatnot. So, 3-star you and all this other crap. Um, you know, like Caleb can testify to this. One of my buddies was a 3-star, came from Fayetteville High School. High school. Now he's playing linebacker for the 49ers.
Hmm.
Um, so man, besides the negative and all that other stuff, I mean, if you put all the Razorback fans in a bowl, what's been the average reaction from fans since you committed?
It's been overall great. I feel like the Arkansas Razorback fan base is one of one. Just even just growing up in Arkansas, seeing how all that goes. It was great. Just like I've done a good bit of these interviews and stuff, which is really cool because I don't think if I went anywhere else, I'd get a lot of these interviews from guys like y'all and just other people. So it's definitely been just great responses and great feedback from me committing. Just because a big part is his in-state guy, and then just to see the belief in the coaching staff and what Arkansas football has.
Yeah, and kind of as we continue on, talking about Arkansas specifically, as we know, Arkansas fans love tough physical defensive linemen here at Arkansas. So, how would you describe your style of play? We know you mentioned earlier that you love the ability to have to be violent and really attack on the defensive line. But other than that, what other ways would you describe your type of play?
I would say a high motor for sure, and then violent hands, quick feet. A big thing is my knockback on the line of scrimmage, just right when the ball snapped, just in the backfield as quick as I can. Um, and then another thing is my pass rush shocks a lot of people. I would say trying to work on finishing the play, like when the play seems to be over, just finishing through. Um, so I would say high motor, violent, quick, and then able to stop the run as well when there's a double team to anchor down and press the block.
Yeah, and so one thing that the fans are kind of the general question that we get whenever we started saying that you're going to be on here. The one question I got the most was, "What kind of player is Eli?" But I want to change that too, and it's going to be a two-part question. But what kind of teammate are your teammates getting from Eli as well?
There, there's a lot of my friends on the team, so we've all grown up and played Pee Wee together. I would say I'm definitely try to be a vocal leader, and then show it through practice too, doing the drills and going at full speed and giving it my best throughout the drills and all that. Um, definitely a leader, and then trying to set an example as well when we go through, like on the field as well, during a game.
Yeah. So, thinking about like your game and your coaches that you've worked with, and if we were to ask your coaches now, how do you think they would describe you in 3 words?
Mm. I would say leader, um, humble, and I would say positive were three good words that they would probably use.
Yeah, and just from watching your film and watching how you're answering these questions, man, I can almost say I would almost 100% agree with those. Um, one thing I'd like to add in there is determined, because
Mhm.
you're determined to make a name for yourself and represent. They say the name on the front of the jersey is the most important than the name on the back. But when it comes to your brain, that name on your back means the world, because it
Yeah.
represents you, it represents your mom, it represents your dad and your little brothers.
Mhm.
So and kind of catching off that too. If so, when the cameras are off, Eli's at his house, chilling out on the bed, chilling with the family and whatnot. What motivates you when nobody's watching?
I would definitely say my younger siblings my parents, my family's my motivation, just to grow up and see how driven my parents were, and just trying to um set an example for me and my younger siblings, and then really just they're setting me my whys, definitely my family, and to show my younger siblings how to be, how to act, and well, one day try to make the NFL and get that second contract in the NFL.
Yeah. So, as we're looking forward now, you mentioned, going through some off-season stuff before getting ready for uh, you know, your next football season. So what are your goals that you have now between now and officially signing day when you put kind of pen to paper and make it truly official that you're headed to Arkansas?
I want to like some like main goals that I want. I want to get at least to 7 or 8 sacks this season. Um, obviously, my main goal is to win a state championship, and I think we can. I think our team can do that this year with just the talent and how hard all my teammates have been working, and the coaching staff too. I want to I want to get defensive player of the year, like with the whole state. Just to I'm pretty sure they had like a conference for that after the season's over. So to make that would be pretty cool, and just to represent Arkansas throughout that season in Valley View. Um, just to not forget what the main goal is this season, and not really focus on recruiting Arkansas during the season, but focus on Valley View and what we can do during the season, trying to win a state championship.
Yeah, and so again, we're gonna kind of be going circling back around. We were talking about your relationship with Coach Wilk, but what's your relationship like with Coach Silverfield and the whole entire Arkansas staff?
I would definitely say it's probably the closest relationship I've built besides my family and all that. Um, just to see like when there was a time when I went on a visit, and um I got into the facility and the whole entire football staff was in the lobby, and right when we walked in and greeted all of them, and then they all started calling the Hogs all Hogs for me. So that was a very cool moment that really showed how dedicated and relationship driven the coaching staff is. Another thing with the coaching staff and Coach Silverfield and Coach Cotton, Coach Wilk, the constant like check in with not just me but texting my parents, and then relationships that they built with my younger siblings through all the visits really showed how loyal and relationship heavy they are. So those are a couple things that really showed me how that relationship is being built.
Yeah, so as you've had these conversations with Silverfield, Wilt, Cotton, kind of what have they told you about, um, your like what type of role they want you to be when you get to Arkansas? Like where do they envision, or what do they envision your role being like once you're here at Arkansas?
I would definitely say interior D line, like three tech and then nose. Um, and then just to come in, put on some better weight, get a little less doughy, you could say, like put on some hard weight. Just to come in and grind, and then uh, yeah, position wise, more of interior D line and three tech and nose.
Yeah, and so, I mean, has there have since your commitment, has there been any current Razorback players that reached out to you to welcome you to the family, or even throwing some challenges at you yet?
Yeah, I would definitely say freshman D line, Danny Bill. We actually like an hour before this, they're on break, so we went to go golf a little bit, but right before this, so just spending a lot of time with him. He came over yesterday, swam with a couple of my friends and family. Dad threw a little something on the grill last night, so me and him. That's another huge reason why I went to Arkansas, is just because of the relationship I've built with him over the past couple past year and couple months. Um, and then on my OV, Anthony Kennedy, really got closer with him. He's Both of them are going to be great in the future, and then this season as well. So just the relationship with those guys, and then the whole D line room. So those building those relationships has been pretty good.
Yeah, so kind of a little quick side question here from one of you know our favorite viewers here at Transplant Texans. So you mentioned your dad throwing some stuff on the grill. What is Eli's favorite meal?
I like nice like steak and baked potato with some mac and cheese, or like a chicken Alfredo or just like a chicken breast with some potatoes, just like a regular, I guess you could say, like 5-star dinner, like a steak and baked potato.
I feel like that's the same answer we get from a lot of the O line and D linemen: steak and potatoes.
Hmm. Yep.
Um, so I get so earlier you said you're recruiting other players. Danny helped recruit you to the Razorbacks. Um, if you could bring any player from the 2027 class with you to Arkansas, who would it be?
Um, that's uncommitted right now.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm trying to get his name's Darian Mosley, I'm pretty sure. Um I'm pretty sure he's uncommitted, but he's a receiver. Trying to get him to come, and then I've talked to the past couple of guys that committed. I talked to Bryce before he committed. Talked to Jeremiah Dent like a little bit before he committed. I'm trying to think. Um, those are couple of the guys, but like when the recruits go on visits, I'll text them and ask them how the visit went, and just trying to get that relationship going, if they just to see if how they're feeling about it, and trying to persuade them to come to Arkansas too. So those are just a couple other guys I've been uh getting. Forgot uh like some names, but still trying to get build more of a recruiting class.
Hey, fair enough. So, you mentioned texting other guys and things like that. So, how active are the group chats between you and some recruits and things like that as you're working on building those relationships?
Another guy I've been we like we have Keith, the edge that's committed. He was on the OV with me the weekend, and he wasn't committed on that weekend. But me and Coach Cotton, right before the OV, made our goal to try to get him to come to Arkansas. So during the OV, we had like a team building thing, and me and Will Caston made sure to get Keith to participate in that and try to get a little closer to the area and staff. So that was a big part of getting him to come to Arkansas, and it worked. So that's really good. And so I've been talking to him a lot. The other D line recruit, James Stewart, talked to him a good bit. Um, and Jeremiah Dent, talked to him some. Will, me and him talk almost every other week. Him and his parents are great people. Um, that's really about it. The only ones I've been consistently talking to, building a relationship.
Yeah, so let's say that either Caleb and we just got offered and we're going on OB to Arkansas. What would your pitch be to us about Arkansas?
I would say just to really look at the facilities are great. The SEC, you're playing against the best competition you can play. You're as close as you can be to the NFL. Um, just and then the new era that Arkansas football is in, the Coach Field, the fan base, and then the college town. It's number one in the SEC for a reason. I feel like Fayetteville's a great place. Um, I feel like the committed recruits right now, all have a great relationship right now. So I feel like that's something special that you kind of don't really see a lot. Is all the commits have a big relationship, good relationship. So those would be kind of a couple points that I would say to a recruit, just like ask them how just ask them how it went, and then get to know them more.
Yeah, so that's really cool, and really great things to hear. And so as we kind of talk about looking forward to your college football journey, one of the biggest storylines across college football and college sports is the NCAA going through and approving the new potential 5-for-5 eligibility model, where kind of you move away from a traditional red shirt system. As someone who coming into college football could be directly impacted by that rule, what's your reaction kind of when you heard that news out for college football?
I saw that the other day. Me and my dad talked about it. I think it'll be I think it'll be better for high school recruiting. Just like because and then you can. I'm pretty sure you can only transfer 1 year, right? Z-
I believe so, but I'd have to double check that.
Oh, well, I think that's another thing with it. So it'll be good. I mean, I'm not really too like into it and worried about it. Just trying to show up and play football. So not really. I think it's good for high school recruiting. So that's really my take on it.
Yeah, and so you kind of hinted at this a little bit, and you said that it's positive for high school recruiting. Um, but do you see that as for current players who are on the roster right now? Do you see that as a positive, knowing that they'll get 5 full seasons to compete, or do you think there's going to be any setbacks or drawbacks to this new ruling?
I think it'll be good because you get if you want you get 5 years to play. I mean, um, without a redshirt year, you still get the opportunity to like if I mean go in and play if you start doing I guess pretty good. So um, I mean it's not really gonna be like I guess too different you could say, um, but it definitely gives that like clarity I guess you so I think it'll be pretty good. You get a secured 5 years to develop and be ready for the draft.
Yeah, so you mentioned, you talked a little bit about that with your dad. Have you had that conversation, um, potentially with any of your coaches or other recruits about that? Or is it kind of something like you mentioned, not too worried about it and just kind of focusing on playing football?
It's not. It hasn't been a topic of discussion with anyone I've talked to. I think it's just like a thing that was thrown out there for, um, just like to throw that out there for, I guess, like a ruling. I guess you could say with how college football's been the past couple of years. So I haven't really looked into it too much and talked about it too much. Just really, uh, yeah, it's just something.
Yeah, and so this will be the last question that I ask about, or that we ask about this. But if Eli Thornton was the head guy in charge, would you keep the new 5 for 5, or would you go back to the red shirt?
Um, I would I would probably keep the 5 for 5 rule just with, and then I think if it is one transfer year, then that's I guess I think that's what it is. But I would probably keep it just with how there'll be more younger guys, I guess you could say, to come in and develop instead of guys like transferring like every year and trying to chase a bag. So um I would keep it, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, and kind of a side thing here. I really like the 5 for 5 rule because I really feel like that allows somebody such as yourself to come in freshman year and make an impact,
Hmm.
without worrying about that red shirt. And you know, um, I see that as a huge positive for somebody such as yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so jumping into some more like kind of fun personality questions for you. So growing up, who's your favorite football player growing up?
Um, I kind of got into more watching Aaron Donald through my junior year, but when I was a kid, I'm a big Cowboys fan, so watched Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott back when they were in their primes, you could say. Um, uh, um, but now I'm kind of watching some highlights of Quentin Williams, the new D lineman on the Cowboys. So kind of getting to more of watching the NFL D lineman and seeing what I can put into my game from their game.
Yeah, so if we go back to when Eli or when you are sitting in your locker about to get ready to play in a Friday night game, what kind of music do we listen to?
I would say I listen to before games more rap, trying to get hyped up. You could say I like to listen to more like underground rap. So now I'll listen to like some Lil Baby or Young Boy or just some normal rap artists you could say before games.
There you go. Okay. So, thinking about, yourself, what is maybe one thing Razorback fans would be surprised to learn about you?
Um, I would say just um that I played a lot of sports growing up. Played soccer, basketball, track and field. I think that's a not a lot of people know about me just because of how football main I am right now. So I think that's a cool thing, just growing up and played all those sports and just see how all different they are.
So if we were to give your Valley View teammates a microphone right now, what would they say about you?
Definitely, I would say a funny guy. A guy that knows when to be serious and take things serious though. But a positive guy, a joyful guy, I guess you could say. I don't really like to be negative because then that just ruins your mood and your day, you could say. So positive, um, vocal. I like to talk a little smack at practice when we go head to head because I feel like that gives more of a challenge or like a competitiveness when we scrimmage. So those are a couple of things I feel like my teammates would say if they had a mic.
Yeah. So you kind of hinted on it when I asked a while ago, but would you stick with kind of that steak and baked potato as, your favorite meal after a big game? Or would you say it's something else?
Uh, that would I probably wouldn't eat that after a big game. I'll either go to the local Waffle House or uh, just like whatever we have at home, really, or some tacos when we get home, or whatever wherever my some of my friends go after the game, we'll go eat. So not really like a main dish after a game.
Yeah, and so and I was looking up your schedule for this upcoming season. It looks like you guys are going to be starting off against West Memphis. Is that correct?
Hmm.
All right. So if any Arkansas fan came to that West Memphis game, what would they see out of the Valley View as a football team? But most importantly, what would they see out of Eli?
I would say as a whole football team, you can see how much each individual puts in the work, not just during practice, but when we're in dead period, like right now, um, or we don't have practice, we'll have guys that come to the field in the indoor and just get working just because we want to and want to have a great year. And then for me, you definitely see how much film I'll watch with just how the offensive line lines up and just their scheme. Um, High motor, aggressive and physical, and then able to make some plays too in the backfield when the time comes.
Yeah, so thinking about, all the coaches you've had over the years, whether it be football or maybe a different sport, what would you say is the best advice that you've ever received from any of the coaches you've had?
Oh, I would say my past D line coach. His name's Cam Murray. He's the head coach now at Little Rock Southwest. He was our D line coach sophomore and junior year. Um, he it wasn't like a one liner thing. It was just a every day of at practice. He would just say like just ask what's your why, and that really stuck with me just to know like every day just come in and know like what your job is and then why you're doing it to give you some motivation to succeed at whatever you're doing.
Yeah, and that's really good sound advice from somebody who cares about your development and whatnot. But speaking of caring about your development, so earlier in the podcast, you said that you played a little bit of running back in your day. So I'm really interested in this question. If Coach Silver were to call you and say, Eli, your freshman year, we're going to give you one offensive snap against Texas, what play you calling for yourself?
Uh, w- if it's like you need a couple yards or like a little like a touchdown, I'll definitely say like a halfback dive just straight up the middle and run it in. Um, and if not, like we need like a 20-yard throw, like a little pitch, like a hook and ladder, I guess you could say, and then throw it to one of the receivers. So that'd be pretty cool. Uh, I mean, who knows, might happen, but
Well, I mean, it's not uncommon from Arkansas. I don't know if you remember, but Sebastian Tretola threw a touchdown in a game. So maybe we'll see Eli
hmm
throw a touchdown in a game.
So, thinking about the roster and the guys that you have the potential to play with over the next few years, would you say there's one current guy that's on the scene that you're most excited to line up next to and play with uh, in the coming future?
I would definitely say going back to what I was saying earlier, just um, my guy Danny, just to line up with him and know that we're both from Arkansas and we get to play for the Razorbacks, and then uh, to be able to say like me, him, Anthony Kennedy, um, are all from Arkansas, and we have the potential to all line up with each other on the line and all be from Arkansas is really cool. Um, I think that's something special that not a lot of teams have. So those are the really two main guys I'm excited to get into the D line room and get to work with.
Yeah, and those are some great options as well too. Um, so I'm gonna kind of piggyback off my last question against the about the play against Texas, but we're gonna up the ante just a little bit. So your freshman year, um, you and the rest of the Razorback football team are playing in the national championship game. 10 seconds are left on the clock. Coach Silverfield tells you, Eli, you can either get the game-winning sack or score the game-winning touchdown. What are we choosing?
I would definitely go with the game winning sack, just because I play D line and that's what you work at during practice, and then I feel like if also make a game winning sack that can show some of the NFL scouts that recruited D linemen. That would be pretty cool if that happened. Hopefully it does. Hopefully we are playing in the national championship coming a couple years ahead. So I'd rather definitely rather have the game winning sack.
Yeah, that's kind of the answer I figured we'd get, and that's cool to hear. So thinking, over with the way college football's evolved, talking about NIL. So when you were looking at your future college career, what excited you most about potential NIL opportunities outside of football? Is there an opportunity, or do you see it as a chance to build your personal brand, potentially connect with fans, support local businesses, or anything like that?
Definitely coming to Arkansas that played a part. Just knowing that there's an opportunity to be as an in-state kid to next couple of years make relationships that I can keep throughout my life. Just because football is only a little bit of your life, and then you have to find something to do after football. So just building those relationships and all the opportunities I'll have coming to Arkansas. Yeah, it'd be cool to see what kind of opportunities come out through my college career.
Yeah, and so kind of staying on that same topic of looking ahead down the road and whatnot. So for your senior year at Valley View, is there a certain part of your game that you're focused on improving more than other? I know you said you're pass rushing and all that other stuff, but I mean, let's get more technical. Are you wanting to improve like footwork, strength? Is there anything like that that you're wanting to improve on?
I would say the two main things I'm wanting to improve on um, are to make my hands quicker off the ball, off the ground, just ground to the man is what they say, and then a quicker first step to be able to put my hands on them and then shut them off quicker. I feel like if I can get that down, then I'll no one will be able to block me this year. So those are some things I'm trying to work on and working on right now.
So kind of looking at yourself, where do you think you've grown the most as a player over this past year? And I know you mentioned talking about working on some technique and stuff, and putting on some good weight and size. So, is there anything key that you would focus on? The biggest thing you would say is that you've grown as a player.
I would definitely say my mental while I'm on the field. Just not really getting into my head. If I make a bad play, and just having good body language, and not really showing that I'm a little frustrated or anything like that. So just showing that I'm having fun on the field, and then just throughout the game, making sure that no one really sees a weakness or anything like that.
Yeah, and so this question, I mean, I get excited just thinking about it for you. You guys are your freshman year. You're wearing the Razorback logo on the side of your helmet for the first time, wearing Arkansas across your chest. Man, well, what kind of player are we going to see with Eli run out of the tunnel?
Definitely a kid, like a guy that you can really see that wants it. That you can see that really wants to win for the state of Arkansas. Um, just to have that in state, like want to in me is a big thing. You're gonna see high motor, violent, physical, fast. And then you'll really be able to see just you can really see I'm just trying to get out there and show why I belong in the SEC, and why I'm doing what I'm doing for a reason.
Yeah, and man, so we're kind of we're gonna start wrapping this up because I'm sure you got stuff you got to do, hang out with your family and whatnot. But think about your career. Let's say 20 years down the road, when people talk about Eli Thornton and his time at Arkansas, what do you hope they say about you?
Um, I would, I hope when my time's done at Arkansas, they say that I was a great person off the field, just a great leader, and a great, and then on the field, just a dog, and just known for winning games. Because you can say a lot of things, but uh, winning games, nobody can take that away from you. Um, I want to come in and be known for just making Arkansas football just as great as it can be, and then just knowing that like my class and just the people around me uh, are impacted off what I can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, oh, I'm sorry, Caleb. Go ahead, sir.
No, you're good. So as we kind of wrap up and put a nice little neat bow on this, you know, what do you want your message to Razorback Nation be now that you're committed? And what do you want Arkansas fans do to help make Fayetteville the place every top recruit in the country wants to be?
Definitely, just the new coaching staff to put some belief in it before you judge, just like what's about to go on. Um, I feel like this season's gonna be better than last season. You can't really get much worse than last season. Um, So I would say just if anyone like asks or wonders about this coaching staff or about the new era of Arkansas football, that's going in the right direction, especially with what Coach Sewerfield wants for the program, and just the coaching staff, Coach Roberts, the defense coordinator, and then the D line coaches, Coach Cotton and Coach Wilt, just all those guys, and then just the players on the team, how you can really see the all in is what Coach Surfa talks about. You can really see that. So it's definitely an exciting time for Arkansas football, and I would definitely see a lot of winning seasons in the next couple years.
Yeah, and I'm excited for that. And kind of like what you said, because we've interviewed several other commits and recruits, and they all talk about the energy and the just the type of dog that Silverfield is and his staff is, and we're starting to see that through the people like yourself that are committed to Arkansas. So I know me personally, man, I'm excited. I'm excited for you to get on campus. And I'll be there for your first time running out of that tunnel, like your friends and family will as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to come on with us, Eli. We can't wait to see you get here. Like Trae said, it's going to be exciting. I know I'm excited for this new era of Arkansas football. Very optimistic about it with what Silverfield's doing here. So, I can't wait as well. But it was great to sit down and talk with you, and we appreciate you jumping on. And enjoy the rest of your Sunday and spend time with family and whatever else you're going to do. And then can't wait to see you get to the hill. So.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
What an amazing dude, right?
Right. Exactly. So, appreciate Eli taking the time to talk with us. It's like Transplanted Texan says here. Great young man, great interview. Show us your best and you'll be loved by Hog fans, Woo Pigs. So, great time there. Like we said, we're both excited to see what Silverfield's going to do and for Eli to get up here to Fayetteville. So,
yeah. And, and like I said, now I hope that the viewers can kind of see what I was talking about whenever I say he's giving me Brandon Burlsworth vibes. Just super positive guy, very explosive, very fast. So I hope that was an in-depth conversation and interview that people will start buying into the recruiting systems and the recruits that Silverfield's hiring, and just stop caring about those stars.
Yeah. So, I'm glad to see this. It's going to be, fun to see this build, but, a little bit longer today, but great interview with Eli. Like we said, that gives you just an idea of the type of player that Arkansas is getting, that Silverfield's going after and targeting. And, he mentioned those other in-state kids. I mean, I can't wait to see an Arkansas line of Beal, Kennedy, and Thornton just wreaking havoc on teams in the future. So, as we get kind of ready to wrap up here, a couple other little notes and tidbits before we get out of here. Just Trae, your initial reaction or thoughts on, the couple of new baseball commits we picked up last week, where obviously we got Nolan Traeger committed from TCU, and then Chris Diaz from Florida Gulf Coast. Your just initial thoughts on those two guys. Obviously, with these guys, as we've talked about it with several of these new commits, that we still got to make it through the draft in July. But your thoughts on Van Horn being able to get these guys.
Yeah, so I feel like a big piece of our success next year was bringing in a catcher that Nate Thompson and Matt Hobbs could both trust and rely on, because we know Arkansas is a very unique place to where the catchers call the pitches. And that is very vital and very important that we bring somebody in with SEC type experience. Traeger played against us whenever he was in TCU, and they've also played against several other SEC caliber teams as well. And as far as Diaz, looking back at his film and whatnot, what can we say? Van Horn and again Matt Hobbs have brought in some dogs this year. I'm fully expecting, if they make it through the draft, which I think Diaz will, we're going to see a lot better pitching performance than we did this past year. Now, with that being said, not dogging on our pitching staff this past year, I just really feel like this year wasn't our year. And if we know anything about a Dave Van Horn team, is if he sees a weakness one year, the next year is usually our strength. So that's got me really excited. I know it's super early, but it's got me really excited for this next baseball season.
Yeah. And, the biggest thing that I'm excited about still with baseball, obviously just over this past weekend with some of the commits they got, you had Tennessee kind of jump us for that number one spot. But, there's a little smoke around that says Dave might not be done just yet. And, one guy out there that's talking about is another one of these pitching guys is, transfer out of Louisiana Tech is a guy by the name of Thomas Allen. He is a guy that has impressive numbers for what he did over at Louisiana Tech. Kind of got the has been talked about as a kind of a flame throwing right hander. Ranked by 64 Analytics as the number 114th overall player in the portal. He was given NCBWA freshman All-American honors. He's 6'2", 185. He had a 3.54 ERA in 48 and a third innings with 49 strikeouts to only 15 walks with a 1.01 whip and a measly 195 batting average for opponents against him.
Yeah, and so those numbers, there's nothing really that stands out to you like, oh, he's going to be our Friday night starter. But once again, though, he definitely serviceable. And that's the thing is, it's nice to have that 2 to 3 guys that are your absolute aces. Well, it's nice to have one, as we didn't really have this year, but we had good pitching at times. So, with Van Horn stacking up the pitching roster like he is, if we got pitcher A who's not bringing his stuff that night, then pitcher B, C, D, E can step in and get us through the game without burning all of our pitchers. And that was what caused us to fall short in Lawrence at the regional, is our pitching just we used all of our pitchers up.
Yeah. And so, looking at it, most of his work this past season came out of the bullpen. He did have some endurance this year as he showed he can make some starts and some length where, he's had 4 outings that lasted 4 2/3 of an inning or more. But, your pitch mix that you can expect out of this guy if he does commit to Arkansas is a mid to high 90s fastball. He has a snappy curve that sits in the low 80s. And he has offers and teams coming after him, obviously Arkansas, but LSU, Mississippi State, Texas, Tennessee as well. So, Dave's fighting that battle with him. And, I'm sure, you've got the talk that you can say you can come develop with that Matt Hawgs, who, if I'm Dave, be like, hey, you can come develop with one of the best pitching coaches in the country. Oh, by the way, he's the pitching coach for Team USA right now as well. So, we'll see what happens over this next week to see if we get a commit. But, I love to see what Dave's doing so far, this off season. I mean, he was kind of quoted in an interview he had this past week by saying, hey, look what I'm doing now when I have some resources, when I have some funding. So, Dave's making it very well known he can put together a really solid roster whenever you give him the right resources. And so, our next big thing with, the portal closing, obviously in 2 days in terms of when guys can enter, guys can kind of really commit at any time. And we've talked about that with football where you have a deadline to enter, but then that commitment time frame, there's not really a designated time for that. But, guys are – coaches and these teams are going to really want to start figuring out what guys are going to do, especially as we get closer to the MLB draft. You get figuring out guys getting drafted. Are they taking the money and staying in the draft? Or are they going to try to come back? Things like that. So there's a lot of other factors that go into that as well. And so we'll get some questions answered there too. So it's going to be fun to see as we round out this transfer portal cycle for Dave, and then we figure out. Once the draft comes, where Arkansas guys are slotted, where these portal guys that have committed get picked up at. And, if it's like I was talking with a buddy this weekend on the way to Kansas City, all these kids, they have a number in their head, they have a set number, and it's the real question is and he made the point of all it takes is one of these teams to get close to that number. You don't have to have all of them. All it takes is just one. And so we'll see what happens. And if we can get a majority of these guys to campus, next season's baseball season is looking real exciting.
Yeah, and one player that I'm really really thought that we'd see hit the portal is Aloy. I really thought that he wasn't going to be a Razorback next year. Now, granted, there's still time, but other than that, though, I mean, you really think about what the players that we've lost from this team, and Dave's able to hold it together pretty well. The only major one I'd say is Carson Brumball. But I mean, that was kind of a no-duh situation. His brother went to OU, and he's teaming up with the national champion OU Sooners. So, I can't blame the guy for that. Wish him nothing but luck or success. Just not against the Razorbacks. Dave's done a really good job. His staff has done a really good job at not only getting players, but also retaining players. And that's the big part of recruitment and staff building that I think goes unmentioned quite a bit.
Yeah, exactly. So, one other tidbit of note before we wrap up and get out of here: Arkansas had basketball. As we jump over to basketball a little bit, and I know there's some comments at the start of the show that kind of hit on this, but Arkansas had a big visitor this weekend as priority center target Caleb Oragu was visiting this weekend, a potential guy that is right now slated in the 2027 class, a guy that they think if Cal can get picked up would reclassify and join this year's roster. But he was official visit this weekend. 6'10", 240, big man. He arrived late Thursday for his visit. Wrapped that up Saturday morning. So as I mentioned, he is currently slotted in the class 2020 or 2027. He is the number 8 center in that class, a top 100 prospect overall. And the big thing with Cal is, if he can get that locked down, he's really pushing him to reclassify to kind of fill out this roster in terms of that front court. And looking at his visit, a lot of the talk is that kind of Arkansas is sitting in that driver's seat right now. They've liked what Cal's done. And exactly, transplanted good point there. He said it's not unusual for, thinking about getting off campus without commitment is not typical of Cal signees. So, he does have some other visits lined up. He has visited some other schools. One thing to consider is Cal's not going to do that whole bidding war thing. So if it's all comes up to money and he's looking for a bag and he's going between these schools, you can probably count Arkansas out there. But, from somebody in his camp, it was reported that the visit did exceed expectations and that he had an incredible experience visiting Arkansas, and got tastes of what Coach Cal's practices looks like. Got to watch some film with the staff, and kind of the staff and Cal talked to him about the vision for him being one of the next greats to play for Cal. And it's like we talked about earlier in the show. You look at Cal's track record with the guys he's got in the league, the money he's made guys and things like that. So the track record speaks for itself. So, it was an all-around great visit for Oragu. Lots to think about, but, it's expected that within this next week or so is going to be that time frame where you see if he commits or not. We've got Peach Jam that is just right around the corner that gets kicked off on July 14th, which is big for a lot of these high school recruits. And so, I mean, it's fun to see Transplant Texan asks here. He said, what were the young man's expectations if the visits exceeded them? Would love to know. I would probably say for him, and just from what we've talked about, a majority of Cal's players in the league and that he's had a lot of success with, as of late anyway, has been guards. So it might have been kind of the expectations and vision that he had for, with Oragu being a center, and, you have to think back quite a few years to the last big man that Cal put in the league. I mean, back in his early Kentucky days, you had your Anthony Davis, your Karl Anthony Towns, your Willie Cauley-Steins, guys like that he put in the league. But as of late and over the most recent, track record, if you will. It's been very guard heavy. So I would say maybe, what he wants to do with a guy like this in that position. We know Cal can develop guards, but I think that's the big thing. And it talked about really selling him on their vision of what he can be here. I think that's the biggest part.
Yeah, and you kind of hit it on or hinted on that as well. It could have been one of those things where during his visit he was asked, what is my role gonna be here? If Cal told him, hey, you're gonna be a role player who gets some minutes but not a whole lot of minutes, but yet he's got a visit, I don't know exactly where he's at, but let's say he's got a visit to Tennessee, and Tennessee comes in and says, hey man, we want you to be as a role player where you'll get a lot of minutes. Well, where do you think he's gonna go? So
I think
ultimately,
Arkansas's biggest competition, from the reports and his visits is going to be either BYU or UConn.
yeah, and so I mean, it's hard to say no to Cal, but it's also hard to say no to UConn as well, because they've had a lot of success in March Madness and all that other stuff.
Especially recently with their titles that they've won.
Yeah, well, that and their coach likes to cry a lot, but that's beside the point. But yeah, no, I mean, it's hard to say no. So, it might be one of those things where, yes, he left without signing, but he also may be really weighing his opportunities. Ultimately, these kids got to make a decision on what's best for them and their long-term future. Now, like you hinted at it, Caleb, Cal is really guard heavy. We can name a lot of guards that came out of Cal. We can't really name a lot of UConn bigs, but again, they know what they're doing. They've won championships, and I feel like our time's coming here at Arkansas. So, who knows?
It's like, yeah, Cal says come be a part of that, but it's like Transplant Texas said. Carl Anthony Towns has some recent success in the NBA, like a championship, and that could be a selling point for Cal. And not to mention, Cal was courtside for at least one game. We saw Cal do an interview a week or two ago talking about when he was talking to recruits. That's all they wanted to ask about was talking about him sitting courtside. Obviously, we've seen the viral picture go around with Cal sitting courtside with Adam Sandler during the NBA Finals. So, it's things like that other than the basketball side of things, but, Cal just being Cal, who he knows, like being at the NBA Finals and supporting his guys and things like that, that could be a big factor in kind of maybe some turning points or, tipping the edge against maybe some of these other schools. So,
yep. And like I said, it's hard to say no to Cal, but ultimately, like I said, at the end of the day, these guys got to make a decision on what's best for them and their development. Taking my rosy Razorback glasses off, it'd be almost impossible for me to say no to Arkansas. It doesn't even matter if, oh God, I can't believe I'm saying this, but if John Pelfrey was the coach again, I still would want to be a Razorback player.
Yeah. So, lots going on potentially over the next couple of weeks with portal wrapping up for baseball, but a potential commitment on the way from a big man that could reclassify to round out next year's roster. We're going to be coming at you with more of these interviews and have some things in store that we're kind of getting planted for you guys as we're kind of in that, I guess, quote unquote, dead period of, college sports with everything really wrapped up. The biggest thing going on right now in sports is the World Cup. And so, before you know what we're going to start doing, we've done it the past couple of years and, this will be the first one for Trae, but as we go through and do our position by position breakdowns for the football team as we get closer to fall camp, obviously the big question going into, I think, everybody's mind as we get ready for fall camp is everybody wants to know that elusive question of who's QB1. So you'll get our takes on that. We'll talk about this insanely deep running back room. We've had Sutton Smith on this show before. You got a guy by the name of Braylon Russell that could be primed for a breakout year. We'll talk about some of these new receivers on this team, and then we'll flip over and talk about the defensive side of the ball where this team got broken down to, in terms of like rebuilding broken down to the studs and built back up with different guys out of the portal. So we'll break down, your D line room, your linebacker room, your DBs, and all the different positions to see how Arkansas stacks up for this season. So it'll be a fun time. And so as we kind of wrap up here, appreciate it, Transplant, jumping in here. Can always count on you, whether it's replay crew or joining us for live. But he says, good show, great interview. Like and subscribe to support content. We appreciate it. We love to have you guys in here. Like Trae mentioned earlier in the show, you guys jumping in the comments and talking is really fantastic. And, it's a good way to connect with you. We don't want to just come in here and, talk and not be what you guys want to hear. So whenever, you guys can jump in, talk with us, ask us questions or for things that you specifically want to know. That's what makes, all this fun and, an enjoyable part of doing all this. So as we get ready to wrap up, don't forget to like and subscribe to the show on YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. Make sure on YouTube hit that subscribe button and that notifications button. That way you don't miss any time we go live. As we wrap up here, Trae, you got anything else?
No, just like always, keep the drinks cold, your face strong, go Hogs.
And I'll cover Zane for us tonight and Woo Pig always. As we get ready to wrap up out, we'll see you this week for our midweek show. Everybody have a great rest of your Sunday afternoon. Enjoy the weather outside before it gets insanely hot next week with some of the heat that's coming through. But with that, we're going to wrap up and get out of here, and we'll see you for our next show.